Welcome to Serenity Wealth Now with Chris Cooper. This is not your typical financial radio show. As a licensed CPA, insurance agent, and investment advisory representative, Chris coaches his clients on a holistic view of financial well-being with an objective of providing a complete financial strategy to fund life's goals. Chris is here to guide you down the path to the financial serenity you deserve. Now, here's Chris Cooper.
All right, good morning. So today we are going to spend a little bit of time talking to the business owner community. There are some really unique things in the works that are a little bit on hiatus at the minute, and it's kind of a good thing in my opinion. But we're going to talk a little bit about business ownership, legal structure, and really the consequences that come along with that. And so I brought my friend Kevin Vitale in studio with me again. He's back in studio with us. Kevin, how are you today?
I'm doing well. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, I know. It's always fun talking about, we spend a lot of time, we've done a lot of events together. We talk about things that matter to people, things that people love to talk about. Death, taxes, right? These are exciting topics.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we do a seminar together and we talk about, how many people would rather do a root canal or talk about estate planning. And we like to talk about estate planning.
Where we live and breathe,
I think most people probably would rather do the root canal.
You're not wrong. Yeah.
But that's okay. We love what we do. Can't complain. So Kevin, in the news for the last, what is it, going on 2 years or so now, this Corporate Transparency Act. Some people have heard about it. Some people have not. Some people are starting to hear more and more about it. But that's about a couple years now?
Yeah, it actually originated in 2020. So almost 5 years, but it's become really starting to get into the news in the last few months because the controversy surrounding it.
Well, and not only that, it was supposed to be big time fines and penalties if you were not compliant by January 1st.
Indeed. So yeah, the clock was ticking and we're a couple of weeks away from that ending date. And interesting things have happened in the last couple of days.
So for those that aren't familiar with the Corporate Transparency Act, who's impacted?
Business owners under most categories. So either LLC or true corporations are impacted by it.
So even true corporations. So whatever status, whatever size does not matter.
There's some caveats and limits to that, but vast majority, I would say 95% of LLCs and corporations. Okay. There's some that are excluded. If your nonprofits are excluded and stuff like that, if you have over a certain revenue level or employee level, you're excluded. But vast majority, especially mom and pop business owners, are impacted.
Absolutely. Now, so what does this requirement mean?
It means that you are required to report to a federal institution known as FinCEN, which is a financial crimes and enforcement unit at the federal level, who owns the business. The thoughts behind it were to avoid money laundering, and that's how it was originally born. And it's kind of shifted over the years, and a lot of people think it's kind of overly intrusive to have the federal government pass those things.
I know you and I off air have had tons of conversations on this and the consequences of it, and I know you and I both have the same opinion that it is overly intrusive.
Could not agree more.
Right.
Yes.
The thought process, like many governmental institutions and entities and thoughts, there's some good thought behind it. I think we'd all agree stopping money laundering and crime and, drug trafficking and all that kind of stuff. Great. I'm all in. I think it's wonderful.
100%. Yeah. No one wants that, obviously. But as the government tends to do, sometimes they do become overbearing and the original goals are misconstrued as that policy develops.
Yeah. So the fines were really steep. $500 a day is what I understand, right?
Yes. $500 a day to include jail time and criminal penalties.
And nice for not reporting who owned your company.
That is it. Yes. In a nutshell.
Yeah. Which who owns your company, and many people do. But it was still a requirement to report on this at a federal level. So what is the most recent thing? Because this was going to go effect on January 1 until recently. So talk to me a little bit about what's recently happened.
Yeah, absolutely. So backing up one step from that, it truly became into effect on January 1st, 2024.
Fair. They were just ignoring penalties until 25, which is why no one made actions.
Yes. And you had until the end of 2024 to do your reporting if that entity, LLC or corporation was in existence prior to 2024.
Okay.
The entities that were formed in 2024 had a 90-day window to comply.
Got it.
But regardless, all LLCs were under that ticking time bomb. We had about 3 weeks to file or be fined. But there's been some interesting cases going on at state level, both at Alabama and most recently Texas.
Yeah, and these have been going on for a while. People have been challenging this for years. It just hasn't made much traction.
Absolutely. And the first big one came in, it was late February, early March of 24. And Alabama at the Supreme Court level found that, hey, this is unconstitutional. We need to stop this. Kind of fell on deaf ears, not a whole lot of traction gathered there, but Texas had this whole same finding just this week.
Nice.
And it has been impactful, and it has kind of pumped the brakes on this requirement for now.
So December 6th, mark the calendar, right? Or no, it wasn't December 6th. When was it?
It was Wednesday or Tuesday this week, so December 3rd or 4th.
Yeah, so it was right early December, something that was supposed to take place in January that was really already in effect for almost a year, finally said, hey, hold up, this is unconstitutional.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
therefore we're stopping this.
Yes. Yeah. So there is a nationwide injunction on this right now. And we're, again, kind of in a holding pattern. So it makes an interesting time for business attorneys.
Yeah.
Because ultimately it is our job to let our clients know what all of these requirements are.
Sure.
And we've been doing so for the last, 11 and a half months, telling them, hey, you need to get this filed by this date. You need to file by this date.
And you were recommending people file.
Yeah.
And you have been up until the 3rd or so of December.
Yeah.
We might be off in the dates slightly, but something. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, we probably have, 10 to 15 cases in the queue right now where we were forming entities for people, which normal part of our practice was to go ahead and to file the CTA piece of it. And then we had another 10 to 15 clients who were just hiring us to do the filing for them. And like I said, as of a couple of days ago, we're like, hey, what happens next? So.
And at this point in time, your recommendation is to continue to file or hold off.
Yeah, it's to hold off, to include my own LLCs.
I'm guilty of this as well. In the financial industry, legal industry, we take our own advice, but we wait till the last minute to take our own advice.
And the cobbler's shoes piece of it.
Yeah, that's right. The landscaper that doesn't have a good landscaping yard of his own, right?
Indeed. So yeah, sometimes procrastination pays off.
Yeah.
So yeah, my recommendation to both myself and my active clients who have not actively filed yet is to hold off and let's see what happens here.
Now, those that did file, right? Worst case scenario, all it is public record already filed of who owns your company.
And truly, supposedly, it's not even public record. It is going into one of FinCEN's databases somewhere, and they have some kind of algorithm where they're checking for, whatever they check for. So truly no negative impact on it that can be, articulated, but at the same time, why give up information that you don't have to unless you're being forced to do so?
That's right. Yeah. So your recommendation at this point in time is to hold off on that requirement. But I think anytime we talk about business ownership and business succession and business planning and business structure, I know when I talk to my business owner clients, I spend a lot of time talking about how you're structured, what our goals are, what we're trying to achieve, what our succession plan looks like. It's never too early to have those conversations.
No, absolutely. That doesn't stop this at all. This just, again, stops one of the multiple requirements to have a successfully formed business.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you think about what it looks like from a legal structure perspective, what are the things that really you find most people ignore or forget about, right? Because when we start a business, it's not like we think, oh gosh, I should go and form my LLC and I need to go get it registered. No, you probably think about, who your customers are going to be, what you're going to do, where you're going to produce your product, what it's going to look like, how your customer service is, what your employees look like. Like these are things that are a lot more important than the legal structure creation of your organization, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Again, how are you operating that business? What's that day-to-day look like? Oftentimes the legal structure is an afterthought.
Yeah.
And most people think it doesn't matter until it does matter.
Until it matters.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
But yes, it is, again, it's put on hold right now. And it is just one of those multiple steps you need to actually form an appropriate LLC, for an example.
Yeah.
Most people have heard of an LLC.
Most people should, if you are an independent business owner, should you have an LLC?
Without a doubt, yes. I'm going to go ahead and say blanket.
100%.
Yes, you should. No doubt about it.
I tend to agree.
Yep.
Like I try to, a lot of people ask me, well, I'm only doing, this, or I have a rental property. Do I need an LLC? I'm like, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Missouri is really friendly to their LLCs. It's a very low startup cost. There's no annual filing requirements. There's no annual requirement for fees. A lot of states make it much, much more difficult, to include some of our neighbors. Illinois has a significantly higher filing fee. They have annual filing requirements and things like that. But Missouri is actively encouraging people to start an LLC and enjoy the protections of that LLC.
But Illinois has this great infrastructure that is going to support EV vehicles for, EV. Actually, I always say EV vehicles. It's EVs or whatever, right?
Sure. Yes. There's that.
Otherwise, it's electric vehicles. But anyway, they're great, aren't they?
Oh, clearly, yes.
He's lying.
Facetious.
Facetious.
Yes.
So sorry, Illinois listeners. But you're probably more on the Missouri side of politics anyway, if you're on this station. So, all right. So it's still important to have that legal conversation, that legal structure. People should have LLCs. Why should you have an LLC?
As dictated in the name of itself, it provides liability protection.
Yeah.
So if something were to happen in that business, if the business were sued, you get to separate that legal action from all your personal things.
Can't say any simpler than that. Yep. Right there. That wasn't any legal jargon right there whatsoever. Simplified in a nutshell, right there. You've got to differentiate and separate your assets from your company's assets to provide some protection from your personal side of things.
That being said, to enjoy the protections of an LLC, it has to be properly formed.
Sure.
Relatively simple process, but a lot of people miss those steps.
Yep.
There were 4 major steps if you include the Corporate Transparency Act filing. First one is just to file on the Secretary of State's website. Second is to get a federal tax ID or kind of a social security number for the business itself.
Both are fairly easy.
They are. Those are the most people who do it on their own are successful in that part.
Those 2 are less than $100 in total, I think.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. It's $50 to file on Missouri Secretary of State. The EIN is free.
Yeah.
Most people manage to do that correctly. Where people get tripped up is the operating agreement. Mm-hmm. And this is basically a playbook, a rule book for the business itself. If it's a single member LLC, incredibly easy to do. If it's a multi-member, though, a little more complex, and it's a lot more important to have that in place for a multi-member.
Now, when you say multi-member, so husband, wife, business owner, is that single or is that multi?
That is technically multi.
Okay.
And again, husband and wife business owners, those are common, less concerns with issues and disputes among ownerships like that.
Sure.
But if you have a partner who's not a family member, that's when the likelihood of disputes happen. And I always tell people it's not a matter if, but when those disputes are going to arise.
Well, because things shift, right? What we do in business and who we are today with our partnership agreement that is fairly straightforward. We're simple. We're started. There is no assets. Over a course of a 10, 15, 20-year relationship, things shift and change.
They do. And that partnership is going to end eventually one way or the other, whether it's death of one of the partners, sale of the business, or just, a business divorce.
Yeah.
So the operating agreement is crucial because it outlines how is that business run on the day-to-day, and then what does that breakup look like, and how can you set up a plan for it versus not having a plan in place at all, and then having to follow Missouri statute determine what the breakup looks like.
Right. No, and I think it's obviously as your business becomes more successful, it's even more important to have all this stuff aligned, but really you should have it from day one.
Absolutely. That is the time to do it. Before, I've had some clients who within their first 12, 24 months went from zero income to multi-million dollars a year.
Yeah.
And if you have a partner in the mix, it's asking for trouble.
Absolutely.
It is.
And it's that trouble can be from, deceit or just change of business ideas within the partner, but it could also be something that's just, catastrophic. Like what if somebody passes away?
Absolutely. And that's something, people unfortunately don't think about. No one likes to think about death or incapacity and stuff like that.
No, but unfortunately that's part of life. We are, we do expire, whether by our choice or just, human nature. It just happens. So you have to think about and have those conversations in advance. And that operating agreement helps with that.
It does. It outlines and it allows you as partners to have a meeting of the minds and come up with a plan that makes sense for your business.
Yeah.
And it's not set in stone. Operating agreements can be updated and changed and amended over time as that relationship develops, as you start to play different roles in the business and everything. But regardless, having a plan in place, that's truly what matters. So again, it's one of the foundational elements of the LLC itself. Beyond that, you have to treat the LLC like an LLC. It can't become your private slush fund for expenses to pay your grocery bills and stuff like that. So.
But I always heard, and I'm going to be facetious here. I always heard that I need to form an LLC to save money on taxes.
Oof. That is potentially one of the benefits of it. But You're going to be more of a subject matter expert on that piece than I am. But
I say false to that all the time.
Yes.
I think it's a legal protection means, but an LLC does not give you the right to file your taxes in any form or different way. You can still do a Schedule C without an LLC. You just don't have the legal protection.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Schedule C for us non-accounting dorks in the room is the filing for a small business owner. So if you are an LLC owner, you file a Schedule C. It is just straight up how you get your business income. You can do that without an LLC. You just don't have the legal protection. So an LLC by itself does not provide taxation benefits in any form or fashion. It's the legal protection that goes into it as well.
And again, you can only be afforded that legal protection again if the LLC is properly formed.
Properly.
2, you treat it like an LLC like you should.
So when you say treated, example, treated like an LLC.
Yep. I'd say the probably most common mistake people make is commingling funds. Like we just talked about, using that business account to pay for your groceries. Not having a bank account for the business itself in the first place.
Which, and the irony is here, if you do things the proper way by doing these things to non-commingle, a bank account has to be established. And one of the things that they require is an operating agreement.
Yeah, both the operating agreement, the EIN, all those pieces.
So they try to help you.
They try, depending on the bank.
Yeah,
yes.
well, and the bank doesn't know how to do these things because the bank is not serving attorney services.
Indeed.
So
Yes, there's the proper formation. There's the treating the LLC like an LLC. Beyond that, though, there's extra steps you have to take. An incredibly important aspect is the appropriate insurance, liability insurance, malpractice insurance for whatever service or goods you're providing.
Sure.
Without doing that, then, you've got the LLC protection itself, but you don't have the extra buffer of the insurance. So.
Right. Which is different for everything. Like, so I am an LLC, my company's, I've got a few of them. And so I have a lot of different protections and a lot of different things that are required of me. I think, Kevin, in the, attorney side, you have the same kinds of things. Absolutely. Right. Yes. Doctors, medical professionals, 100%, right? Different levels that have to exist. But that liability, even if it's just something like you have a rental property.
Yes.
100%. That is still a risk.
Yeah. Multiple flavors of insurance. So liability insurance, that's basically, if someone comes into your office and slips and falls on the ice.
Yeah.
Liability insurance you want for that piece. Malpractice insurance, that will cover you for your professional services or the goods you're providing itself. And then this could be kind of back into your court, the life insurance piece of it, especially for that partnership.
Yeah. So think about the partnership side of things. So when you talk about that operating agreement, let's say you're 50-50 with an individual. Well, if that 50-50 relationship exists, and let's just say that the business valuation, let's just say it's $500,000. I don't know, but let's just use easy. I like easy math. It makes me feel smart. So $500,000. If when that operating agreement is 50-50, that means if something happens to your partner, you have to buy that partnership out for maybe $250,000.
Yep, absolutely.
So that is what's considered in the life insurance world, that buy-sell type of transaction. Very common in operating agreements. You have to purchase the business outright from your old partner who did pass away. So you have 2 choices. You have to have an account in escrow for whatever that purchase price is, or you each have a life insurance policy on each other, protecting your business interests so you can buy out your partner in the event of the unforeseen, right? That is called a buy-sell type of life insurance agreement that is very commonly overlooked when you think about this legal structure thing.
Absolutely. And incredibly important in the partnership. And even if it's a single member, if that is your family's primary source of income, having some type of life insurance policy.
In the wealth, industry and what we talk about from a financial professional perspective, people overlook life insurance. I don't. Life insurance is the best investment you can ever buy. The caveat, you die the next day and it becomes a great ROI, right? You have to pass away for it to have value, right? Now, and I say that facetiously because there's a lot of benefits there with life insurance as well, with long-term care planning and all other things. But, you don't ever think about the unforeseen. We don't like to think about the what if, but the ROI is significantly critical. And it's not about just paying off bills or paying off the business or paying off the debts. And Kevin just hit on it. It's about income replacement, right? So if you're going to own that business and that's going to be your bread and butter and your family's bread and butter for the next 20 years, that's 20 years of lost income that has to be figured out. That's what life insurance does. You are your most valuable asset.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And again, a lot of the business owners I work with are new entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
A lot of them have been employees the vast majority of their adult lives, and they're moving into this piece. So that education piece is, it can be daunting sometimes. Drinking through a fire hose and everything, but
yeah, because it's not what you're really worried about, right? You're not thinking about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, you've got other things to worry about. How are you going to make payroll? How are you going to make rent? How are you going to bring new clients and customers in? So
no, and it's so Kevin and I both enjoy when we do workshops. It's so fun. We just toss softballs back and forth at each other about what we're talking about, and how to have more fun conversations about things that we always joke. Like we talk about things that are pretty bad to talk about, like death, taxes,
terrible,
and then the worst is that incapacitation. Like no one wants to talk about what happens if something happens and we can't make decisions for ourselves. And you have to think about that from a business owner perspective too.
Yeah,
you really do.
Yeah, and again, think about it. Could your business survive if you took a month off? If you went to the Cancun for a month, would your business still be operational?
Well, I would. I could live. I don't know. Cancun in a month is a lot, though.
Yeah, that's a lot for me too. Yes,
it seems like a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. So now you go to Disney for a week during the holidays or more?
Indeed. Yeah. Right after New Year's every year.
How's that go? That seems like a lot to me.
It is a lot, man. So I come back mentally and physically drained. I need a little vacation and everything.
Yeah. It is. Disney's an overwhelming experience for sure.
Yes. After we're going on a couple years of being a business owner right now, the business sustains itself during that absence.
Yeah.
But would it sustain itself if I was unable to, sit at that helm for a month, multiple months? Probably not.
Right.
So
you have to plan for these kind of things as business owners. And you don't always do it from day one. We're not sitting here telling you, hey, go out and figure out what you want to do for a living and make it your own living. And it's going to be amazing. It's hard work. And don't focus on this stuff right away, but put it in the back burner because it will, when you become able to make this the career, you have to think about these kind of things. And if you don't, decisions are going to be made for you and they're not your decisions.
Yeah. And I always think of it this way. Your biggest stakeholders in your business are your family. They have trusted you and had enough confidence in you to allow you to, quit whatever your previous job was, where you had a regular salary and stability and all the benefits that come for that world.
Yeah.
It's a risk to start a business. It's stressful. And your family are your biggest supporters in that. So do it for them. Make sure you've got the correct things in place. If they trust you and love you enough to allow you to take this leap, you owe it to them, that peace of mind.
Yeah. Well, as business, I feel like we should both thank our spouses at the moment.
Man, this is
enough. Goodness gracious. Yeah. Stacy, thank you.
Indeed. Rachel, thank you. Appreciate that. Yes.
Goodness gracious. Cause it's so true. It is so true. And it is a family affair when you have your own business and it's amazing. We've done some statistics on this and most businesses fail before they hit their third generation. Most businesses actually fail before they hit their second generation.
Most businesses fail if they hit their probably third or fifth year.
Depending on too. Yeah. So it's important. And, but as a business owner, Kevin, would you do anything different? Like, obviously we do anything different, but would you still be your own business owner?
I fully believe I'm unemployable. I really do.
But you could get any job you wanted, couldn't you?
I think I could, but I wouldn't last very long. Yes.
No, you'd either get fired or quit.
No, you're not wrong. Yes, you're not wrong.
That's because I know the answer myself. Absolutely. Yeah. It's an interesting freedom, but you also don't feel like you're working when it's your thing. You get to help people every day and it's amazing. No,
it's so true. I mean, on occasion, I will have 12, 14, 15-hour days and it goes by fast. And I would. My only regret is not doing it sooner, honestly. So I love being a business owner. I love my job because I get to deal with so many eager, hungry, intelligent entrepreneurs and get them started.
Right.
Take the burden of getting all the legal mumbo jumbo done for them so they can focus on the stuff they need to do, with the stuff they know. Provide the goods or services that they're open to do. So.
And I think the legal mumbo jumbo is a chapter in law school that you cover.
It is, yes, right? several months. There,
absolutely. So consolidating into a message that people can easily understand and walk away from is super important. I think it starts with that legal structure. It blends into the conversations about how do you make sure you are protected? How do you make sure your family is protected? Your wishes are protected? And when Kevin and I talk about business owner stuff, we don't just talk about the legal structure side of it, the financial structure of it. We also talk a little bit about what your intent is.
The why behind it. That's the most important part.
Right?
It is.
Like, why are you doing this? I think, we just had a good conversation with a business owner friend of both of ours. And the first question we asked is, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And every decision, everyone's different. but it's still, it's critical to the plan you put in place for somebody.
It's the most important part, because my legal strategy, there is a textbook legal strategy for most situations, but sometimes that's not a good fit because it doesn't meet with that client's why and their goals.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But if I don't know what their goals are, we're going to be heading in the correct textbook answer to it. But again, if it doesn't meet and satisfy their goals, then it's the wrong strategy.
100%. And I treat the same way on the investment philosophy side of the house, right? There are textbook situations. There are cookie cutter type of approaches. Now, I don't know about you, but I do not think that if I did what I do for a big box company, because I'm independent on purpose. Sure. Let's say independent with purpose.
Yes.
I don't think I could offer the same level of service and customization and approach if I was not in that type of organizational structure.
I could not agree more. Yeah. I am only bound by the ethical, moral, and legal requirements of, my profession and everything else. But beyond that, I can be incredibly creative in those solutions. Yeah. And that is awesome. If I was working for another firm, there would be additional rules I had to play by. And again,
not your rules, not the client's rules.
Yeah, absolutely. So having that flexibility and getting to know that client, figuring out what their goals and fears are that's the most important part of the job.
Yeah,
to me, so.
And it's why we both like being independent business owners. Is like why we work with business owners. A lot of it is that legal structure, but what is often overlooked in that is, and we hinted on this, right? You also have to think about that legacy side of things, that succession plan. What happens next? What happens with your family? And that's really where a lot of your business is also generation is really in focus is estate planning.
It is. Yes. So what is estate planning? It sounds really boring. Sometimes it can be really boring, but it's coming up with a plan on taking care of future generations, whether it's your children, grandchildren, spouse, having a plan in place versus, relying on the government to come up with a less than ideal plan.
And the key thing with that is I think business owners need to think about that even more so. Because if you don't think about that stuff in advance, your situation is much more complex as a business owner. It's much more dependent on factors that it's unique. And so we have to come up with solutions that are it's just that much more important to have an estate plan in place when you're a business owner.
It is. And again, you don't want a boilerplate templated solution.
No.
You figure out, what makes you tick, what are those concerns, and the legal strategy piece of it is not the answer in a box itself. It takes other experts out there, tax experts, financial experts to build that plan.
Well, and that's what we love to focus on. And that's when we work with business owners at the Serenity Wealth Office, that's exactly our approach. It's customized solutions tailored to that business owner needs. We ask that why question. And I know you do the same thing because you've done my operating agreement, reviewed it. You've helped me establish my family trust as well. And that approach helps people understand the importance of all these things in the getting rid of the legal mumbo jumbo, getting rid of the financial mumbo jumbo to have a solution that makes sense so you can enjoy really the business ownership side of things. Because it's wonderful knowing you have the peace of mind to go to work every day.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? One less thing to worry about so you can focus on what you do best.
All right, Kevin, I think that's a way to end it right there. The serenity you deserve, get that. Make sure you've got the right legal structure in place, the right financial structure in place to enjoy your business. Get peace of mind. You are a business owner for a reason. Enjoy it. Enjoy the journey. Kevin, thanks for coming in today. Have a happy holiday.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, buddy. We'll talk soon.
This is Serenity Wealth Now with Chris Cooper. Request a free copy of Chris's latest book, The New Holistic Retirement, by visiting SerenityNowTax.com. That's SerenityNowTax.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors.